Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Cinema. I am Money Mike, and on the heels of Crown Jewel, I am going to try to predict the War Games matches for the men's and women's this year. I did this last year, so I thought, hey, let's do it again this year. So, obviously, you have the Vision on one side for the men's match, and yeah, you got three members of the Vision. Now, Survivor Series is usually 5 on 5, so are we finally going to get some new members of the Vision? And as for the women's, it's a little bit more trickier. There's not really a heel faction in the women's side like the Vision. So, what could the women's War Games match be? So go ahead, drop your predictions below. Who do you think will be in this year's War Games matches? And go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, as I do produce weekly wrestling content here on this channel. Now, I am filming this Sunday night. You will see this after Monday Night Raw. So I have no knowledge of anything that happened on Monday Night Raw, because obviously Monday Night Raw hasn't happened yet. That's at 8 a.m. in the morning here in the States. So I'm not going to be able to watch Raw live. So I have no knowledge of Monday Night Raw, of what potentially they could do on Raw to further these storylines, to set up Survivor Series. So, with that said, let's start with the women's War Game match here, because to me, I think there is going to be some kind of team up with Asuka, Kairi, and then you got Rhea and Io on the other side for the faces. Now, joining Asuka and Kairi, I do have the Women's United States Champion, Giulia. You know, I did make a prediction in my Crown Jewels predictions video. I thought maybe, with the Japanese ties and everything, that maybe we could see Giulia help Asuka and Kairi win the match over Rhea and Io. Now, obviously, WWE just went with Rhea and Io to win, but I still think they could have Giulia be involved. And I do think, Asuka, Kairi, making a phone call to Kiana James, setting up a deal to get Giulia involved. I think that would be great. From a booking standpoint, they're not doing much with her as United States champion on SmackDown. So I think maybe being able to showcase her in a match like War Games would do wonders for Giulia moving forward. Now, there is one match that we do know of on Monday Night Raw that will take place. That is Bayley and Lyra versus Roxanne and Raquel Rodriguez. Now, obviously, we've seen Bayley going through these emotions. She's flipping from babyface to kind of she's happy, she's cheerful, and then she's mad at Lyra. Lyra doesn't know how to handle it, and she doesn't know what to do. She's confused, just like all of us are. And so we know those four are in a tag team match. So Roxanne, Raquel will join up with Asuka, Kairi, and Giulia to make the heel side for the women's War Games match. And now for the baby faces for the women's match, I do have obviously Rhea and Io, which then brings me to Bayley and Lyra. Like I said, I think you do kind of continue that from what they're doing with Bayley and Lyra, and obviously they're facing Raquel and Roxanne. So I think you put them four in the match. And from that point, Bayley going through her emotions, she's happy, she's cheerful. Maybe that kind of plays into any team, Asuka and Kairi and the heels winning. Because obviously, like I said, Asuka, Kairi, they lost at Crown Jewel, so they need probably the win here at Survivor Series. So having maybe Bayley kind of playing a role into it where her emotions get the best of her, and that allows the heel to take advantage to potentially win. Now, obviously, that leaves one more spot for the baby faces in the women's match, and that is going to go to Stephanie Vaquer, the women's world champion. Because let's be honest here, some point Rhea Ripley is going to be back in the women's world title picture. Having Stephanie on that team, they can further set up down the line Rhea versus Stephanie, them being on the same team. Maybe Rhea says, hey, if we win, you give me a title match or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's my women's War Games match this year. And yeah, I think a lot of people right now you're probably saying, what about AJ Lee? What about Becky Lynch? What about Nikki Bella? Like, number one, I think AJ Lee and Becky Lynch needs to have their women's Intercontinental Championship match at Survivor Series. Like, the WWE right now is terrible at payoffs. They make us wait for these payoffs. We haven't seen AJ Lee since WrestlePalooza. She made Becky Lynch tap out, and we have not seen AJ Lee since. Where's the follow up? Where's the immediate match for the Intercontinental Championship? So if you're saving it for a big PLE, I don't want AJ Lee and Becky Lynch in War Games. I don't want to keep pushing this match off. I think it's better for AJ and Becky to just have their match for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series. So I think those two, should just be on their own and just go ahead and have their match. Now, moving on to the men's side of things here. Obviously, you have the Vision. Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. So you need two more members for the group, right? Number one, I think Paul Heyman. I think we kind of saw it at WrestlePalooza. I think Paul Heyman is going to find a way to convince Seth Rollins to let Brock Lesnar be in this match or be on their team. I could see Seth kind of like, hey, Paul, like, no, I don't want Brock on the team. Or maybe Seth tries to say no because we go back to what Cody Rhodes was saying, hey, Seth, who really is in control? And you go back to that and you go, hey, Seth can go, look, I'm the one in charge. Brock is not on this team. And it also plays into that if Brock is on the team, that Seth really isn't in charge. And that it's really Paul Heyman, and that can kind of play into the breakup of the Vision down the line. So I think Brock Lesnar being involved here, I think Brock will be in alongside the Vision, which is going to be insane. Brock teaming with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of meat. Now, you need one more member, right? What about Ilya Dragunov? I'm going to go with a wild card here. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of reports that there are plans in place to bring him back from injury. We have not seen him yet. And if you really want to throw everyone off in thinking of where he's going to come back or what his plans might be, having him join the Vision would be amazing. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I think that would be great for his career. I think that would be great for his, his stock going forward, being aligned with Seth Rollins, being aligned with Paul Heyman. Dragunov coming back as a heel, being mentored by Rollins and Heyman, it could only mean good things for him for the future. And when you look at the vision right now, Bronson Reed was brought in, and he had a lot of history with Seth Rollins. Now, who has a lot of history with Braun Breaker? Ilya Dragunov, going back to their days in NXT. So it makes a lot of sense for Dragunov to be the new member of the Vision. And as for the babyface team going up against the Vision, Roman Reigns, Jimmy, and Jey Uso, and that is going to be very interesting to see what happens on Monday Night Raw after what went down at Crown Jewel. Jey Uso inadvertently spearing Roman Reigns, leading to Bronson Reed getting the win over Roman Reigns. Then Roman Reigns getting mad at the Usos for getting involved. Roman telling them, hey, this isn't the old days anymore. And then he hit him with the line, hey, I don't want to see y'all until Christmas. Like, bro just skipped right over Thanksgiving. Like, did he just uninvite the Usos to the Samoan Thanksgiving dinner? I mean, look. Obviously, I think there's a lot more to play out inside War Games where I do think the Vision could win this match because maybe Jay, Jimmy, Roman aren't on the same page. But I do think that is where Jacob Fatu comes into play. We saw on SmackDown, Jimmy Uso was kind of lined up with Jacob against Solo and the MFTs. So maybe Jimmy goes over to SmackDown and brings in Jacob to try to make peace, try to keep the peace within the family. And again, we saw CM Punk team with the Bloodline last year, kind of like an honorary member of the team when Paul Heyman brought him back to team with Roman Reigns. And I think this is could further the Punk Roman Reigns stuff that they really haven't capitalized on post WrestleMania. So I think maybe we could tell that story a little bit more. But also you have maybe if you want to leave Jacob Fatu on SmackDown, maybe it's LA Knight and you have Roman, Jimmy, Jay, Punk, and LA Knight as your 5 going against the Vision. And maybe LA Knight turns heel. Maybe that's when LA Knight turns heel or Jey Uso turns heel, whatever. And that's what costs him the match against the Vision. And you can continue the story between LA Knight and Jey Uso and CM Punk and that great promo on Raw last week. You can capitalize off all that in the build. Roman trying to keep the peace because everybody's mad at everybody. So yeah, that would be kind of interesting. I think if these are your War Games matches, I think I would be pretty happy. So let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of my predictions? Do you think I'll be right? And who do you think would win these matches? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, I've been your host, Money Mike, and you've been watching Ringside Cinema.